If someone shames you when you react, they already control you. Most people believe humiliation must be defended immediately. They explain themselves, argue back, or show anger. But psychologically, that reaction reveals something far more important than the insult itself. It reveals where your emotional control ends. Social environments constantly test people for weakness, not through direct attacks, but through subtle provocations. Shame is one of the most effective tools. The moment you react emotionally, the other person learns exactly how to move you again. Your reaction becomes a leash. This is why the first lesson is simple but difficult. Control your reaction before you try to control the situation. Most people fail here because the brain treats public embarrassment like a survival threat. When someone shames you in front of others, your nervous system immediately tries to restore status. You feel the urge to defend, explain, justify, or attack. But in social psychology, dominance is rarely determined by who argues better. It is determined by who remains emotionally stable under pressure. When you react quickly, you confirm that the insult touched something real inside you. The room may forget the insult, but they will remember the reaction. Reaction signals vulnerability. Control signals authority. Most people react. Strategists observe. Comment. I control my reactions. Now understand something deeper. Many moments of public shame are not actually insults. They are dominance tests. In groups, people constantly measure each other's emotional stability. A sarcastic joke, a subtle comment, a dismissive remark. These are rarely random. They are probes. The group watches the reaction, not the comment. If someone mocks you lightly in a meeting, the room does not analyze the joke itself. They observe your face, your tone, your body language. They watch to see whether you shrink, defend, or lose composure. Humans are wired to detect status shifts instantly. When someone overreacts, the brain unconsciously lowers their perceived status. When someone remains calm, the opposite happens. Stability creates gravity. This is why arguing back often fails. People think winning the argument restores respect. But social hierarchy does not run on logic. It runs on emotional control. The person who stays composed appears stronger than the person who fights hardest. Most people try to win the moment. Strategists control the room. This is where Machiavelli's understanding of perception becomes critical. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The psychological meaning of this is simple. In social situations, perception becomes reality. People do not analyze your character deeply. They judge based on visible signals, tone of voice, facial expression, reaction speed, emotional control. When a person remains calm under social pressure, observers interpret that calmness as strength, even if the insult was unfair, even if the accusation was false. The brain assumes emotional control equals authority. This is why powerful leaders rarely rush to defend themselves emotionally. They control expression first. Words come later. Emotional discipline protects reputation better than verbal defense ever will. Every emotional outburst rewrites your public image. Every controlled response reinforces psychological authority. But silence alone is not the entire strategy. Silence becomes powerful only when it is intentional. Most people believe silence during humiliation means weakness. In reality, controlled silence shifts the psychological pressure back to the attacker. When someone insults you, they expect a predictable sequence: insult, reaction, conflict, resolution. This pattern releases tension. But when you refuse to react, the pattern breaks. The social tension has nowhere to go. Instead of the target feeling uncomfortable, the discomfort returns to the person who initiated the attack. Their brain expected emotional energy. Silence removes that reward. Silence is not passive. Silence is not passive. Reaction feeds humiliation. Silence starves it. Imagine a common situation. Someone mocks you casually in a group conversation. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You maintain steady eye contact. You show no emotional shift. The room becomes quiet for a moment. The person who made the remark now feels the social pressure they attempted to place on you. Humans instinctively retreat when their provocation fails to produce a reaction. Most people cannot execute this strategy because the ego demands immediate defense. The ego believes silence means losing, but psychological power comes from controlling timing. not volume. When you pause before reacting, you reclaim control over the interaction. Comment: silence is control. Once emotional control is established, a response becomes optional rather than necessary. This is where strategic communication replaces emotional reaction. A powerful response is rarely aggressive. It is minimal and controlled. For example, someone makes a disrespectful comment. Instead of arguing, you respond calmly, "Interesting observation," then continue the conversation or move on. This response does several things psychologically. First, it refuses the emotional frame created by the attacker. Second, it signals distance from the insult. Third, it prevents escalation while maintaining authority. The goal is not to destroy the other person verbally. The goal is to demonstrate that their attempt to provoke you failed. People quickly stop using tactics that produce no reaction. When others realize they cannot move your emotions, they stop attempting to control you. This is the moment where identity shifts. Most people operate from a reactive identity. They defend reputation emotionally. They explain themselves constantly. They feel the need to correct every misunderstanding. Strategic individuals operate differently. They observe first. They react only when necessary. They treat emotional discipline as a form of social armor. Their mind becomes a fortress. Insults hit the wall but never reach the center. This does not mean ignoring every situation forever. Strategic silence is temporary control, not permanent avoidance. After the emotional pressure dissolves, you can address issues calmly if needed. But that decision happens on your terms, not under social pressure. If you are building this level of mental discipline, subscribe to ILU Codex. This channel focuses on psychological strategy and emotional control. Most people never learn to develop. Now return to the original idea. Shame only works when it produces a reaction. The moment you react emotionally, the other person learns how to control you again. But when your emotions remain steady, the mechanism breaks. Insults lose their leverage. Provocations lose their reward. Manipulators lose their influence. The old identity reacts instantly. The new identity observes first. One is driven by emotional impulse. The other operates with strategic control. The difference between them determines who controls the interaction. Comment: I remain unreachable. When people cannot move your emotions, they lose the ability to control you.